Hey y'all, my name is Yvette and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be announcing the Dragon Prince Minithon and book tag. If you do not know, the Dragon Prince is a Netflix original cartoon show and it's one of my favorites. Season 3 is about to come out and Kara over at the Wild Book Garden reached out to me to see if I'd be interested in co-hosting something with her to celebrate the premiere, and it was an automatic yes. This Minithon is starting on November 22nd, which is the day that the third season premieres on Netflix, and it's running for 4 days until November 25th. So just a long weekend, not a full-out readathon. We have a few challenges and a book tag that you can do, but before I get into that, I'm gonna go over what this show is about and some of the reasons why I like it so much. The basic premise of the Dragon Prince is that humans and elves live completely separately with no interaction on different sides of this one continent that's separated by a border called the Breach, and the Breach is guarded by the Dragon King. However, the humans have now killed the Dragon King and destroyed his one egg, and in retaliation, the elves have sent assassins to kill one of the human kings and the king's son. Things don't go exactly according to plan, and it was found out that the egg wasn't destroyed, it was stolen. To stop an all-out war breaking out between the humans and the elves, one of the assassins and two of the human princes team up to go return the egg to its mother. So like, this show has a basic fantasy premise, but it's so much more than that. First of all, this show has two of the same producers from Avatar: The Last Airbender. And like Avatar, I think this show does a really good job of balancing humor with fun fantasy things along with a lot of story and meaningful themes, like children inheriting wars from their parents and suffering the consequences of the violences committed from the generation before them. I also want to talk a little bit about the representation in this show. The human king and one of his sons, one of the princes, are black, and then the other prince is biracial, he's half Asian. And then the general of the human army is deaf, and she uses sign throughout the show whenever she's on, and it's not translated in the subtitles, which I thought was a really nice touch. And in this world, queer relationships are normalized. We see a sapphic couple kiss in one episode, and they do die in that same episode, which you know going into it, which isn't great. I wasn't too thrilled about that, but I am optimistic about future queer representation in the show. So yeah, I really love this show, and I hope if one thing comes out of this Minithon is that it puts this show on people's radar and more people watch the show. I think right now there are 8 seasons planned, and I really want to see all of them get made. For this Minithon, there are going to be 3 challenges. The first one kind of goes along with the show's representation that I talked about, and that is to read an ownvoices fantasy book. The second challenge is to read the next book in a series, and this challenge is in line with this being a new season of a show. And because this show is a cartoon, our third challenge is to read a book with any illustration in it. This can be a graphic novel, a manga, a children's picture book, or even a novel with a map in it. Just anything that has any kind of illustration in it. And now I will be moving into the book tag portion of this video. The first question is going to be, like the Dragon Prince, middle grade literature can be, and often is, enjoyed by a wide range of people. Share a middle grade book that you think is especially well suited to be enjoyed by readers of all ages. One of my all-time favorite middle grade books is Hurricane Child by Karen Callender. It's about a young black queer girl living in the Caribbean. She's dealing with bullying at school, having a crush on the new girl in class. There is a shadowy figure following her around, and she's trying to figure out what happened to her mother who disappeared. This one I think is especially good for readers of all ages, not only because it deals with a lot of heavy topics like depression and colorism and homophobia, but also because even though the intended audience is younger people, the author still treats the audience very maturely. The author doesn't talk down to the reader and trusts them to understand what's going on without over-explaining. Kids are a lot smarter than we give them credit for, and I think this author really understands that. The second question of this tag is, some of the basic plot elements of Dragon Prince are familiar and much loved fantasy tropes. Share a book with a common trope or plotline that you love anyway. Maybe it's done in a creative way, maybe the book just unapologetically embraces that trope, etc. And for this one, I'm going to go with Nocturna by Maya Montaigne. This is a Latinx YA fantasy about a young thief. She is morally gray and she has the ability to shapeshift, and she gets in a spot of trouble with a local gang, and she's faced with the choice of either losing her magic or trying to steal this magical object from the royal castle. Long story short, when she is stealing this object, she runs into the prince and they unknowingly unleash a dark force upon the world, and they have to work together to contain that force. I want to talk about this book for this question because it does use a lot of common fantasy tropes and there are some familiar character types in here, but it is a book all on its own. The story is told through a Latinx lens, and that changes everything. The people of the land in this book were once enslaved, but they overthrew their oppressors, and throughout the book there are themes of a post-colonial society, and I think that's what makes this book special, even if it does use a lot of common tropes. And finally, the third and last question of this tag is talk about one of your favorite moments from the show. Spoiler free, please. Or share one of the more general elements that you love. So I already talked a bit about a couple of things that I like about this show, but another thing is that there is a really great sibling relationship between two of the characters. We have Claudia, who is a mage, and then her older brother Soren, who is a member of the Crown's Guard. One of my favorite things about anything is when there is a good, realistic portrayal of a sibling relationship. Like, they have to be down to die for each other, no hesitation, but at the same time, they have to be ready to make fun of the other one at a moment's notice for whatever reason. It's a balance, and it's one that this show does perfectly. Over the course of the show, they have some great banter and some good comedic moments, but they also make life-altering sacrifices for each other, and I love them so much even if they aren't the protagonists. That is going to be it for the Dragon Prince Minithon announcement. I'm going to leave everything down in the description box that you need to know, and feel free to ask any questions. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.